Interrompemos esse podcast para perguntar: quem você quer ser?
Designer, engenheira,
pedagoga,
administrador.
Quer saber? O Senac EAD é nota máxima no MEC. Tem cursos de diversas áreas, com conteúdo elaborado por especialistas do mercado e professores mestres e doutores. Ainda tem o Senac Carreiras, conectando estudantes a vagas de emprego em todo o país. Saiba mais em ead.senac.br/graduação.
Hey everyone, welcome to this edition of Keep Watch Pass on the It's Not That Bad podcast channel, a proud member of the Pantheon Podcast Network. If I were to ask you what happened 10 years ago, you'd probably remember it, right? Well, I'm going to ask you what happened 10 years ago, and this time we're talking about movies, because we're looking at films that were released in 2014, and here to join me with our decade-old look back, my lovely wife, Carrie. Carrie, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Until you remind me that 10 years has passed in the blink of an eye.
Yeah, no, it feels weird to look at some of these films and say that's 10 years, but 10 years really kind of goes by in the blink of an eye. Like, really, it still feels like yesterday before everyone got locked down in the pandemic. So, you know, time is an illusion. Lunchtime doubly so. So quoth the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. But in looking at films that were released 10 years ago, were you surprised at how tough a choice this was?
For me, it wasn't that difficult. It really wasn't. There weren't a lot of movies that stood out to me that I actually saw from 10 years ago.
Really?
Well.
Or at least remember seeing.
Yeah.
I mean,
maybe I was asleep.
Going through this, I mean, I think probably the toughest one for me was the Pass film for 10 years ago, until I noticed one film that was released and I'm like, okay, no. All bets are off. I know what their Pass film is at this point. But here's what we're going to do, dear listeners. We are about to take a look at films that were released 10 years ago in 2014 and pick 3 of them each. A keep, a watch, and a pass. The keep is one that we hold in very high regard. The watch is one where we're like, yeah, sure, cool, it's on. I'll watch it, even with commercials. And the pass is one that we sit there and go, 10 years isn't long enough. Can we put that further into the past? Because that's how we feel about that film. But first, our keep film. So, Carrie, 10 years ago, what tops your list?
I'm keeping Into the Woods, the musical with Anna Kendrick, Chris Pine. Oh, now, the history behind it is that I was in this musical, a very, very, very off-Broadway, like, community production of Into the Woods.
So off-Broadway, it was in Canada.
But I've always loved the story, the twists and the turns on the whole Wicked Witch and the Good Witch and going into the woods, and actually the combination of so many different, like, familiar children's tales. And it's so funny and it's so brilliantly intertwined. I really enjoyed it. And the songs, the music are just so catchy and singable. So,
see, I can't say that I've seen the film. I can't say that I know the musical. I can say Chris Pine is a great actor, and Anna Kendrick has a hell of a voice. Like,
yes,
if you've watched any of the Pitch Perfect films, you already know that the girl can sing. And if you watched any of her comedies, you know that she's funny as hell. So, Into the Woods, I mean, I'd be curious to watch it. You know, I'd go down that road with you. My keep, I'm going to be Captain Obvious on this one here. It's X-Men Days of Future Past. This is, it's funny. You know, when you take a look at the X-Men films, you know, there are certain ones that get held up in very, very, very high regard. I mean, the first X-Men film, yeah, you know what? They did what was potentially impossible and take a phenomenal comic book property and turn it into a really good film. and one that still holds to this day. Like, say what you will about the Fox era superhero Marvel films, but X-Men still stands up tall today. X2 absolutely stands tall. X-Men The Last Stand? Yeah, not so much. First Class? Okay. Days of Future Past. This is one of the best X-Men comic book storylines to begin with, and was also adapted very well in the X-Men animated series from 1992. Love that series. This is one of the quintessential X-Men stories. And the fact that you had an opportunity to have not just James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender, who took over the roles of Professor X and Magneto and did very phenomenal jobs, but to pair them up as well with Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen, like such a great combination. And I mean, Hugh Jackman, Logan, tying everything together. Like Days of Future Past, like honestly, if you take a look at the X-Men films in total, as a whole, and you can include Logan and the New Mutants in there. Carrie, I mean, you've seen the X-Men films, at least the majority of them. If you had to say what your favorite X-Men film was, which one would you pick?
Now, does the Wolverine?
Oh, absolutely.
Movie
It counts.
count?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It's-
I mean, he's definitely, Wolverine is my favorite character. I cannot wait for the Deadpool Wolverine movie.
Oh, that's going to be so good. But I mean, kudos to Hugh Jackman. He really did carry the entire freaking franchise on his shoulders. Because really, the only X-Men film that he wasn't in, like, I don't think he was in Dark Phoenix. I know he wasn't in New Mutants, but Logan, oh my God.
Okay, but I loved Kelsey Grammer as Beast.
Oh, absolutely.
The voice was just perfect.
Oh,
Perfect.
and that's the thing. Kelsey Grammer got across what they were able to do in the X-Men animated series and also continuing on X-Men 97. Like, say what you will about Fox, but they knew how to X-Men. My watch film, and I get to go a little sci-fi in this, not necessarily sci-fi, but a very cool concept. And it's actually a movie that qualifies for the podcast and we have not covered yet. And I would like to put this on the whiteboard if I may. I'm talking about Lucy, starring Scarlett Johansson. Look, the concept is really, really cool. So basically, Scarlett Johansson becomes an unwitting drug mule. These Yakuza-style gangsters, like they cut her open and they put these drugs inside her, then stitch her back up, and then ship her off to where the drugs have to go. And then she gets beat up a little bit, and then the bag with the drugs burst open inside. But the drugs, what they do is they basically expand the mind's capability, because apparently we as humans only use like 5 or 10% of our brain capacity. And the theory that this movie puts forward is that if you were to be able to unlock the full potential of your brain, you could change everything and see everything and understand everything. Well, that happens when these drugs burst open inside of Scarlett Johansson's character, and all of a sudden she's like, I can do everything. I am omnipotent. And it's like, oh, this is cool. And it's a phenomenal film. I don't understand the hate that it gets. So I will put Lucy on the whiteboard, and somewhere, sometime, somehow, some way, we will cover this episode. And if it's anything like Mordecai, it'll probably take us about a year to get to. But it will go onto the whiteboard of hopefulness.
And we finally got around to Aeon Flux. So
Right?
there's, now accepting a new spot in the should be
whiteboard,
held
yeah.
for a year.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, we're slow like turtles, but we get there eventually. All right, your watch pick from 2014.
In 2014, I can quite honestly say this movie was on high rotation in our household, and it's also another musical by its own right, the Lego Movie. Everything is awesome.
Everything's cool when you're part of a team.
Yeah.
Everything is awesome when you live in a dream.
But I mean, this movie was so much fun. How they connected the Lego figures. You see what I did there?
Mm-hmm.
To the real world. It was, you know what? It was such a great story. It was done well, and definitely, like I said, on very high rotation. So
Oh, yeah.
I can guarantee in 2014 I was watching this movie.
Oh, the kids loved it. We loved it. And there's something to be said about the Lego movie properties. Not necessarily just the Lego movies. Of course, you had Lego Batman, but you also have all these Lego versions of like Star Wars and Marvel and DC properties that have come out. And every time, like, yeah, they're kind of geared for kids, but there's enough in there for adults to enjoy them too. I get it. Like, the Lego movie properties and the Lego straight to DVD properties, they do really well. They're really fun.
Not to mention, like Lego Dimensions
Oh God,
built
that
an
game.
entire gaming structure
Yeah.
from this movie.
Oh, absolutely. And that's the thing. Like that game. I mean, the kids freaking played that game all the time, and never kept the pieces in one piece. But we still got the bases, so we can still play the game. But yeah, like it was one of those. Like I know Skylanders did the same thing as well, where you buy the characters and you put them on the thing, and then all of a sudden you can play the character in the game. But with Lego, it was all new levels and all new worlds. And it's like they expanded the game, and it wasn't just change the character and change the skill set, but to play the same damn parts of the game. You were expanding your world when you were able to do this. So like Lego knew what they were doing, and they still know what they were doing. The only problem with Lego today is that they release images of their upcoming sets that are based on like comic book properties, thereby giving away the plot to the movie before it even comes out. So Lego, love you. Stop doing that. All right. Your pass pick from 2014.
Well, as you know, I might not have been the biggest Godzilla fan until watching Godzilla -1. That one was phenomenal.
Okay.
Saw it in the theater, but I am going to pass on the 2014 Godzilla movie because really haven't seen it. Don't intend to watch it.
Oh, you bite your tongue, woman.
You're hating me right now.
You bite your tongue, woman.
No, because to me, I so enjoyed Godzilla -1 that I would, at this point, having not seen any other Godzilla movie ever, I would be comparing it to, quite honestly, a pinnacle of a fantastic movie.
Oh,
I know. I'm sorry, but
we're gonna have words.
you're a little too late. You're a little too late because
No.
I've already seen a really great movie.
No. When this episode is done recording, I'm going to sit you down. I'm going to rest my head on your arm and fall asleep so you can't reach the remote control. But here's the thing. And maybe I should have picked this as my watch film because I freaking love this film. Like, I love me a
So
Godzilla
defend
film.
it.
Oh, I'm going to defend it. Oh, here we go. Okay. So this was really the revitalization of North American made Godzilla films, right? And prior to this point, Godzilla films had been, they were okay. But first of all, at the helm, in the director's chair, is Gareth Edwards, the man who brought us Rogue One, the man who brought us The Creator.
Another controversial point, I really didn't enjoy The Creator as much as you did either, I know. I'm sorry.
Oh, here's the thing. The Creator doesn't hold up to Rogue One. And maybe it's the Star Wars presence. I get that. But hear me out. 2014, this film, it is arguably the best Godzilla film out there at the time. Obviously, the 1998 Godzilla film with Matthew Broderick. I know we're going to be talking about it on this podcast someday because it definitely qualifies. But this is also when Legendary as a production company took over, and the idea for the Monsterverse came into play, right? Because they had the rights to do King Kong. So you had Godzilla, you had Godzilla versus Kong. Now you have Godzilla X Kong. And there was also rumors that they were going to somehow squeeze in Pacific Rim into the MonsterVerse so you could have robots and kaiju at the same time again. I think with Pacific Rim Uprising, that idea probably got put on hold a little bit. But prior to 2014, I want to kind of paint this picture. The last Godzilla film before 2014 and kind of this revitalization of Godzilla was 2004's Godzilla Final Wars. Now, this was part of the Millennium era of Godzilla films, and I personally love Godzilla Tokyo SOS and Godzilla Final Wars. It goes back to that Japanese true Godzilla type film, like dude in a suit. Okay, it's all good. But the thing here is that this brought it back and made it almost cinematic again. Like the Japanese Millennium era and even prior to that Godzilla films, they were cute and laughable at times. That's so cheesy and wrong and fun. I get it. I do. This took it and turned it back into that real, true Godzilla-sized monster, but it doesn't feel like he's standing on a little playset. Like some of those Japanese early Godzilla films, it was literally like, someone put a little toy Godzilla on a diorama set and said, I'm going to smash everything. Like, they're so cheesy, they're fun. They are. This film made it epic again. And again, it focused more on the human story as opposed to necessarily the Godzilla story. But this was proving that Hollywood, if given the right director, could handle a Godzilla film and make it watchable and make it good. I mean, some of these other Godzilla films that Legendary has done, they've fallen into the big monster, big smash, big boom kind of thing. 2014, Gareth Edwards didn't do that. It was an experience. So when we're done the podcast, I challenge you to watch this film. Not when you're tired, but watch this film and then let me know your thoughts on this in comparison to Minus One. Because let's be honest, Godzilla Minus One is arguably one of the best Godzilla films of all time.
And to be fair, it's the only one I've ever seen. So with that said, until now, 10 years later, I was passing on this movie because I've never seen it. So thank you for that, because now, knowing that it's a little bit more in line with Minus One and more well done, if that's a word, than the Matthew Broderick one, which
English gooder.
Done better,
gooder,
done gooder than the Matthew Broderick Godzilla, which, to be honest, I mean, I've seen parts of. I haven't maybe watched the whole movie because I might have fallen asleep. But
you fall asleep during a film? That's impossible.
Shocking.
No. Guarantee you, 2014 it's not Godzilla, it is Godzilla.
I like that.
I went there.
I'll give it a go.
All right. My past film, and I love this director. I do. I love almost everything he's done. Dear Kevin Smith, I understand that there are times when a director wants to de-pigeonhole themselves, branch out, try new things. Tusk is not that thing, Kevin Smith. I don't know what bag of weed you were smoking at the time that this film got created, but oh boy. Like, I've tried to watch this film. I have tried. Like, imagine someone taking The Fly and mashing it together with The Human Centipede, made by the guy who did Clerks. I can't even. I mean, I understand it's part of the quote unquote, Canadian-esque, whatever they were trying to call it, a version of films that led into Yoga Hosers, which, I liked Yoga Hosers. It was cute and funny in a quirky kind of way. Tusk, I don't know. Like, I understand that artists don't want to be stuck doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. And yeah, Kevin Smith has continuously gone back to the well of Jay and Silent Bob and Dante and Randall and the cast of characters that we have grown to know and love over the decades. Tusk ain't it. It's weird. It's weird to the point of sitting there going, I don't understand. I just don't. I've tried. It looks bad. Looks weird. And the ending is just meh. I've tried. I gave it the college try. And I'm not saying that everything someone puts out is going to hit a home run. But this was definitely a foul ball.
Maybe the trouble is you need the college weed.
It's possible. Possible.
I've not seen it, so can't confirm or deny.
Maybe I will. Maybe I will, because it's legal up here in Canada. Maybe I'll watch it that way and see if it makes sense. You may have to fall asleep on my arm so I can't change the channel.
I'll pin him down.
Yeah. And by the way, if you don't get that joke, go listen to our episode on movies from 2004, where I needed the biggest ass Snickers bar that you could possibly imagine. I'm not even going to tell you what movie we were talking about. Just go listen to it. Carrie, thank you so much for this. Now, please remind our listeners what your keep, watch, and pass picks were from movies released in 2014.
From 10 years ago, I can guarantee that I am keeping Into the Woods. I have probably watched the Lego Movie a million times in the past 10 years, and I am passing, up until now, I'm willing to renege this pass on Godzilla.
All right, I am keeping X-Men Days of Future Past. I am watching Lucy, and I am passing on Tusk. I'm going to read what I wrote down about Tusk just to get this point across of how I feel about this film. Being the last person in the Human Centipede might leave a less crappy taste in your mouth than this film.
Oh, that's harsh.
That may be harsh, but
Ooh.
And if you've seen the Human Centipede, you definitely don't want to be last in line there, because
up until that moment, I was actually going to say, I'd give Tusk a try because I haven't seen it yet.
No. That is multiple people's crap ending up in your mouth.
Damn.
Yeah, I tried.
Okay.
I tried. All right, Carrie, thank you so much for this. And to you, our dear listeners who are probably throwing up now after that last reference, you guys know the drill. If there is a topic that you want us to cover on Keep Watch Pass, or a movie you would love us to cover on It's Not That Bad, hit us up on social media at Not That Badcast, or go to our website at notthatbadcast.com. And while you're there, make sure you check out our Coming Soon page so you can see all the episodes that we're prepping. Drop us a line. We want to hear your picks. Until next time, she's Carrie, I'm Jay. You guys are awesome. This is Keep Watch Pass on the It's Not That Bad podcast channel, a proud member of the Pantheon Podcast Network. Take care.